Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the Divine Brothers meeting once again. It's Dean in China, Austin in a closet somewhere, and Chase, well, maybe not Chase, maybe Cesare, my new Latin brother who's looking a little bit more rugged, a little bit more masculine.
You know what I'm gonna go by when I go to Colombia? You know what my name's gonna be?
Tell me.
Alejandro.
Alejandro. Now, you may not know this, Chase, but Lady Gaga has a song called Alejandro. You ever heard that before?
There's some famous song, and the guy sounds sexy as hell. So I mean, that's the name I want right there.
Lady Gaga song goes Ale Alejandro, Ale Alejandro,
What if I had
mi
a
amor.
what if I
It's a
had
great.
a Colombian chick and I got her knocked up and had a boy and named him Alejandro? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, Alejandro's a cool name. I like
But you
Alejandro.
have to be good looking if your name's Alejandro. You have to be good looking.
Call
You
him
can't
Ali.
you can't be
Ali. That's what I call him.
unattractive. You can't be unattractive and be named Alejandro.
There's a lot of things like that, but I do believe that there are some predetermined names that kind of doom you. Like Tim. If your name was Tim, I think you'd probably be cursed to be a weirdo.
Like
So,
Tim, what's the guy that runs Microsoft? Tim Cook.
oh, that's the Apple guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he.
Apple. Oh, he's smart. He went to Auburn, but he's gay. Like,
I
okay.
know, right? It sucks when the gay representative, like when the gay representative doesn't really line up with what you want.
If I got
Like,
nothing against a gay representative, but at least be a cool one. Like Tim Cooks just sucks. Yeah.
yeah, it's like Peter Thiel. When you told me he was gay, I kind of hated him a little bit more because it
Peter
had his
who?
Peter Thiel, you
Who's
know,
that?
or Peter Zion, Peter.
Peter Zion. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, whatever his name is. Yeah, I ever since he said that, I was just like, I don't know. Now all I can do is see you just on your knees sucking dick while you're talking about Chinese demographics, and I didn't like it as much.
Yeah. How much the Peter Zion do you think is here's some cash, say what we want you to tell you to say?
I think a lot.
How
The more I
much?
watch it, the
What
less I think.
percentage? What
Oh
percent?
man, dude. First of all, almost everything he's been saying China's going to collapse every year for
He
20 years.
has. He has.
And the other thing is, like, he was absolutely vehemently sure that Biden was going to win. There was no way Trump is going to win. I am 100% certain about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And like I kept waiting. That was the big video. I was waiting for his excuse. He waits like a month after the election to explain what happened, and he does it so casually, like, "Well, here's what happened. Blah 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 blah." And it was actually exactly how I personally. It was just there was some data that I had wrong and stuff, and I was just like, you know what? I don't respect you anymore. Videos pop up, and I still watch them. I don't know why. I can't help it.
So my buddy here in Thailand, his name's Boat, and he
Hang out
got
with both of them.
he's like, yeah, I'm getting another master's. This is the type of person that has, a doctorate in three or four, just 'cause out of boredom. They go to school out of boredom. And
Sure.
he goes to the top school in India to get this, and it's in international relations. And I was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, why do you keep going to school? And he's like, international relations is international drama. It just gives you an excuse to talk about it. And I love it. I love it.
Mm.
He's like, it's
Oh.
it's like a energizing conversation for him when you know everything that's going on. But it is, it's like international drama, isn't it? I know all the shit. I don't know what's gonna happen. These people are going down the hill.
I, are you hanging out with him there?
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
Man, has he lost his virginity?
No.
Austin, I want you to imagine a hyper Christian, yeah, gay, very rich Thai man, and he has maybe the strangest obsessions. Chase sends me the images that he sometimes shares with him on WhatsApp, like images of like gigantic Aryan Musclemen being milked for their semen by aliens and stuff like
Austin, I gotta ask you a
that.
question.
And he's never had sex, man.
So Austin, this buddy of mine, Dean said hyper Christian, and maybe at a time he always fluctuates. Sometimes he's more Buddhist, sometimes he's way more Christian. Other times he's like, there is no God. And then but he's always evolving on the spiritual sense. And I think he believes in everything, but just periods of his life, it's a heavier lean toward one than the other. Have you ever met anybody like that?
Yeah, did you listen to the last podcast me, Dean, and Bobby
Oh
made?
yeah.
No, I think you guys posted. Yeah, and I never get invites for these either. And I think it was posted yesterday. So no, I haven't heard it.
Yeah, sorry for the delay on that. Chase, listen, I just feel like you'd kind of bring down the conversation, like there's something about you that lowers the IQ in the room,
Yeah, but makes everybody laugh, man. That's the whole point.
They do get heavy, but yeah, Austin, what are you thinking about from that conversation? Yourself?
Y- Yeah, totally myself. I mean, that did come up. It was a prominent feature, and I think you commented on it as well, that I myself go through pretty extreme fluctuations where, like, there's moments that I'm convinced that I'm like a fractal miniature of some great evolving mind, and other times, like, there's nothing out there, whatever, you know. So I feel differently at different times, Chase. I'm one of those people you're describing.
Really?
Yeah, you should
I
take a listen to it, Chase, because it got
literally,
really,
you just
you know.
posted it last night, dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I don't know why you've taken so long to listen to it. You should listen to it Shinzai.
Last
But
night means my nighttime.
but the other thing is like
Well, hang on.
Bobby.
I want to ask this to Austin. I've never thought of this to anybody. You fluctuate your spiritual side like it's a constant wave. Like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, definitely. Because so much of spirituality is about intuitive feelings. If your state changes radically, so does your opinion. And there's a certain kind of a weakness attached to purely theoretical or intellectual arguments. So those never carry much weight with me. So it really depends on my state of mind. So if I'm in a high meditative state, I feel the unity. I don't need any argumentation for it. And I don't fall in that direction anyway. So if you ask me, is there a God? Is there a spiritual uh, uh, character to the universe? And in times like that, I would say yes, but because I felt it, I wouldn't be able to give you an argument for it. So that's
That's what.
Clear idea of the universe, like he just has a certainty with which he explains everything, and you kind of sense his certainty when he talks about things. But Austin has this way more like inquisitive, questioning mind that's just, it doesn't really accept anything at face value. You know what I mean? And it made this real beautiful yin and yang. I really liked it. And I was just there saying my IQ cannot keep up with this conversation, but it was really, really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a wonderful discussion. I actually listened to it today. I was impressed. I thought I maybe wasn't really making sense at the time, but I
Yeah.
thought everything came together really perfectly. So I'm really happy with it. And I would like to make a quick comment to the listeners. Like, if I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys come to listen to these conversations. It would be great if you went into Spotify, gave a 5-star review, left a
Oh,
comment, help us in the algorithm. I know we don't ask that much. I don't think anyone's ever asked since I've been on this podcast.
you're the only
But
one that's ever asked,
Here's
Austin.
here's
yeah,
my thing. I think when you ask people, there's some people out there that go on there and give you ones. It's just because you asked me, I'm gonna do the exact opposite. Yeah.
But you know what? That conversation really was good, man. I was. It's funny you think that, Austin. I feel like you always have this natural pessimism for your input on stuff, but it always sounds great. Like things get so deep so quickly. And Chase, you're right. There things get very serious with that shit. It's nice to have the levity every once in a while, but the level of depth, man. It feels like we're diving deep into the darkness with some of the places we go to. So yeah, it was cool, man. Tell Bobby thank you. He is great to talk to.
I think probably Bobby. I liked that conversation I did with Bobby on the podcast. It was fun. I appreciated that he would just come immediately to the shallow, like when, all right, let's talk about Halo. And he did. I think it's so essential. Had one client before I left who was the smartest person I've ever talked to in my life. And every week for about 20 minutes, it was awesome. And then the last 20 minutes, it was absolute torture because they couldn't
Mm,
stop. They just
yeah.
kept going. And I was like, dude, I'm supposed to be the PhD. I can't keep up. I don't know where I am right now. Like, please, let's talk about anything else. So he's got a good
Yeah.
balance to him, man. But you gotta fluctuate or people lose
Yeah.
interest. Yeah.
Speaking of which, taking it to the shallow end, I do have to talk about one little topic this week. Chase, did you watch the Zhang Wei Li fight?
Yeah, she kicked her ass, man.
All right, Austin, you probably don't watch any fighting, am I right?
I don't. I'll stay out of this one.
It's okay, but so basically, I want you to imagine, like China doesn't have many champions, you know, like they play badminton and fucking like some kind of weird Olympic sport that only Chinese people want, ping pong, you know, that sort of shit. That's where their champions are from, you know. But somehow, over the past few years, they have developed a world class UFC fighter. I mean, this bitch is bad, man. She she kills bitches. Like she'll get in there and she will destroy your world, you know. And I think I don't know, Chase. You think she's attractive? I think she's got a certain attraction to her. She's masculine, like very muscular, but like I think she's
She's
pretty.
gotta grow her hair longer, and I really am beginning to hate her personality. She does her stupid little heart sign, and I
Okay.
love people. I love everybody.
Oh,
I love. I wish she
this is
was a
what I want to
killer.
talk about.
Wish she
This is
was a
what I want to
killer.
talk about. So, okay, Chase, I watched the entire post press conference. Like I was curious if I could pick up some of her Chinese, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like listening to her talk and stuff like that. And it's sickening how sweet she is. You
Yeah.
know, like the first thing she says is, "Oh, I'm gonna get a big bowl of ice cream afterwards, and I'm just gonna relax, and I feel so grateful for the fight, and I'm so happy to be here." Do you consider yourself to be the best pound for pound fighter in the world? Oh, I don't like to consider such questions. I'm only here for the fight. And I got angry. I was just like, you are the best. You're the best around. You got to claim that title. You got to get that mantle going, man. But I was sitting it, watching it with the Chinese boyfriend. And he was there saying, I love her. She is so humble.
Now,
This is
this is
this
all.
Jace.
This is a problem.
This
I
is
know what
cultural.
happened. No,
No,
it's
no.
not.
This
No,
is
it's not.
cultural, man. Because yes, it is. Because guess what? In China, she has been trending #1 all week in China. She's the most beloved person in all of China. Everyone worships the ground she's walking on. She is doing exactly what Chinese people want her to be. You be humble. You never take any credit, and that is how what China loves. And I want Conor McGregor. I
Listen,
want to hear your wife's in my DMs. That's what I fucking
you're
want to
missing a
hear.
huge component of this, dude. And this is what pisses me off the most about her. She was not always this way. Now she was rising up and she was the Chinese prospect and they wanted to push her. They push her into a title fight. She fucking wins it. Then she defends it. And she's just like, she did not talk like that. She spoke of just like, yeah, I'm the champ. It was, hey,
Really?
matter of fact. She goes and fights that Rose Namamu. The first time they fight, it was a freak
Yeah.
head kick. Rose knocks her out. And
Yeah, I
she
remember
gets
that.
up, she's pushing the referee. Like she's like, I'm not out, I'm not. Like she did not know what to do with defeat. Like she thought she was invincible. She loses. This is when she had long hair. Then afterwards, she's just like, oh, then it started to turn to this sweet, humble person.
Oh,
Second time
interesting.
she fights Rose, it comes down to the
Yeah,
fifth round. Everyone, oh, it's 2-2. Who's gonna win? She
I
loses the
remember.
fifth. She gets taken down and she acted unbelievably submissive. And I remember like wanting to throw up in my fucking chest. And I remember talking to you, and you said the Chinese are saying, oh, she is such a humble champion.
Yes.
Even in
Yes.
defeat, she stays humble. And I'm like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. So she lost me there. She lost me when she changed. And I fucking
Yeah.
hate her for it. But she
Yeah.
was hotter with hot hair. Now she has long hair. So fuck her for that shit
See
too.
that man, that's the thing. I don't know if that was a spiritual thing or a China thing, meaning
China,
like she had like
China,
a genuine psychological transformation or
psychological break. And she leaned into the culture.
uh, see,
Yeah.
that's a shame, man. I see. I, yes, China loves it, but I would like to think that a shit talker is universal. Doesn't I feel like the UFC deeply wants another Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Just somebody who comes in taking names, kicking ass, they talk shit and they back it up. What's a better celebrity, man? Like Muhammad Ali, man. I'm the greatest was, like that sort of thing. Like I feel like that is what superstars are made out of. You know what I mean? And I have a craving for that. I don't want these goody two shoe people. I want a character from a movie. You know what I'm saying? And there's just nobody out there, man. Nobody.
It makes me cry, Dean. I mean, you're tearing me up over here, man. I mean, I'm devastated by this. And she changed. And you know
Yeah.
what? The other motherfucker that I hate him fighting, I know we're Jabram, but we don't fight it here in a second.
Yeah. Sorry, Austin. Where this is a thing we
You know
sometimes
who I'm
do.
going to say? This is a male fighter that switched personalities.
Ooh. Who?
Dustin Poirier.
Oh
Dustin
God.
Poirier, the first
Worst.
time he fought Conor McGregor, at just the cockiest little, big-headed little, just little punk from school. Oh, I'll kick your ass, blah, blah, blah. Gets his ass beat, and all of a sudden he becomes just the super humble, gracious Christian person. And I was like, oh, I matured. I'm like, man, you fucking, something happened. You had a schism. We call that
Yeah.
schizophrenia because I don't recognize this person. It's nauseating to see him. I hope he loses every single time because he changed. They call it evolving, maturing. I don't want to see that shit in fighting. I want to see fucking just a bloodbath and cocky arrogance.
Maybe that is just the natural path. Like maybe that's how everyone is. You're young, you're cocky, you talk shit, and then the older you get, you just become a little monk. Kind of like Musashi, like I'm gonna go to every dojo in Japan and kick everyone's ass. And then years later, you become a monk and you write a book where the last chapter is called The Void. Like maybe that's
Don't
just how it works.
lose. That's what you're supposed to do. Yes, because
You
you've never
lost. That's
tasted
true.
defeat. You don't know that
That's
side of life. Then you got to become a monk. Yeah.
God, undefeated. What a great thing to say. Never been defeated.
Can you imagine that life? Champion fighter. Oh my God. You could go anywhere, do anything. It would, yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Rant over Austin. Sorry. We had to like purge that I had to purge that from my
Well,
system.
Austin, let's bring him into it. Austin, have you ever seen somebody's personality completely change? Like just shift and you fucking hated them for it?
Not that I hated them for it. I've seen people mature over time. I can't think of any like radical shifts that from people that I've known.
I know them all the time. Usually it's for the better or like maturity stuff, but like the fighter essence, I can't take either one of those fighters ever again. I hate them. But that's actually good for marketing. I think if you hate somebody, if you want to see someone lose, you're more likely to tune into the fight
Oh,
if you want to see
that's what
someone win.
wrestling was all about,
Right.
man. You
I
had
mean,
to have
it's
your
interesting.
villains.
You wanna blow up the guy that I want to see this guy lose. I hate him.
Oh,
I hate him
yeah,
that
man.
much. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I really do believe that like wrestling is the most American sport. Like there's something about like, especially the old school, like Ric Flair, or Macho Man, Randy
The Nature
Savage.
Boy.
Nature Boy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like these are epic, bigger than life personalities. You're talking shit always. The ultimate egos clashing. You know,
Yeah.
like it's beautiful. I love that shit, man.
That is you nailed it. That's American is pro wrestling with the personalities, just the macho man.
Macho Man, Randy Savage. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What I do watch, and I'm not really into competitive sports, but what I do watch is debates and about religion and ethics and stuff. I know it's pretty boring, but
Do, do,
what's
uh, do,
hilarious.
do they have ego personalities in those too? Do they start
eh,
yelling and hooping and shit like that? That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Especially the flat earthers and even the people on the other side, dude. They completely lose their minds, man. They cannot handle opposition to their ideas, and I it's entertaining to watch up to a point, but like it's incredible because when like egos get that enraged, like intellectual honesty goes out the window, and they're just trying to win an argument. It's like it's kind of entertaining, but it's also like this is like very stupid as well because no one's trying to make like they're trying to make points, but they're heated and they're just insulting the other person. I don't know. There's some entertainment value of it, but at a
Oh,
certain point, when the ego gets too involved, you just can't get ground anymore. There's no dialectic. Everyone is just on their hill and they're just going to die there. The earth is flat forever and no evidence could ever convince me. There was a big thing that happened. I forget the title they gave to it, but a number of flat Earth YouTubers went to the South Pole, I believe, one of the poles, to observe the 24-hour sun. Did you guys see this?
No.
Nah.
Well, okay. It's kind of an interesting like observation on one like a subcategory of these people. But so they go there and think, okay, yes, there is a 24-hour sun, and this is something that apparently did not fit into the flat Earth model. It was not allowed for, and what their claim was that, like the space station and a number of other things, it was completely fabricated and fake. So flat Earth YouTubers go there and they verify for themselves that indeed at a certain time of the year, whatever, on the poles, there is a 24-hour sun, which is a major blow to the flat Earth theory. And what you're left with when you've already made the decision, right? When you've already drawn the map before you've entered the territory, you come up in very awkward situations where you do these mental gymnastics to try to make it work. And to some people's credit, some of these flat earthers was like, yeah, you know what? I might have been mistaken. Like, I think there's some shady stuff going on with NASA still, and so on and so forth. But this is something I have to like absorb. But a huge amount of flat earthers call these people shills. If you want to talk about people changing their mind, connecting a little bit to what was said earlier, is that maybe Chase wouldn't like these people, but they went there and they said, okay, I saw for myself. This is a major problem for the flat earth model. But a lot of people said instantly, they just assumed that these people had been gotten to, that they're shills the entire time. I think it's just a fascinating kind of I don't know, intellectual unfoldment that happened amongst the flat earthers in particular in this case. I don't know how you guys feel about that or flat earth in general as a theory.
Well, I think Chase likes to see physical submission. You like to see intellectual submission. Yeah. I have seen those moments where people have been intellectually destroyed and you see them just flopping around like crazy. Christopher Hitchens was great at this, in terms of like sometimes getting like a hardcore Christian to just absolutely be flopping on the ground, unable to do anything. I remember one I remember one time like he was on a radio show with a hardcore Christian, and the guy says, like, don't you think that God is basically good, And no, why not? And he's like, well, you don't want to go to heaven one day, and he's like, well, I don't know if I would like to be in eternal North Korea where I'm forced for all eternity to be worshiping some horrible, cruel God who just demands that I give him 100% of my attention all of the time, constantly worshiping him, kissing his ass for all eternity. I don't know I think North Korea is exactly the same way. And the guy just was like, and it was public on a radio show. And it was just beautiful to watch. And you want to revel in the humiliation, It's almost like watching like seeing the emperor at Rome, do the thumbs down, like kill the bitch, like oh, that's a fun moment to watch, man. I've always enjoyed those.
Yeah, R.I.P. Hitchens, great guy.
I
That's
think
what happens, man. When someone's already made up their mind, when they, like I said, they draw the map before they enter the territory, they automatically get put in very weird situations because if you
Mm.
break apart one piece, and if it's a monolith, if it's a system, then you cannot allow any part of it to fall because the entire thing will crumble. So yeah, I totally get that argument. I don't know if I totally agree. I mean, it's kind of a funny like argument. I don't know if it's that serious, but that's why that dude probably couldn't respond because it is a good point. I don't know if I would how much like legs it has towards undermining
Right.
Christianity or God, but
Right. The point is, in that particular situation, it was a moment of real humiliation, and it was beautiful to
yeah,
watch.
but
I really,
what if you're a flat earther, you're like the top guy, and this is how you make your income? I think of it like a preacher at a church. Even if you become aware, like, okay, this is flawed. My thinking, I mean, what do you do if it's like your lifeline and you run the conferences? Like, I could totally see someone just keeping the lie alive or just working around it like we haven't figured something out yet, even if you know damn well. Like, if you got nothing else, would you change? I probably would at least pretend that I didn't, right?
yeah.
no,
I
I
can
think you're
remember.
completely correct. Yeah, I think those people that went and saw the 24-hour sun. I don't know the story of all of them, but I could definitely see those people saying, I'm not going to admit it, like, okay, the flat earth model is a little bit off, but the earth is still flat and so on and so forth. So yeah, I agree.
I remember there was this documentary I watched. It was called, it was years ago, Spotlight or something like that. And it was all about like the Catholic Church hiding up like molestation, you know? And it focused in particular in Boston. Like we are talking, it was a shocking documentary because we're talking about like decades and decades and decades of thousands and thousands of kids getting raped. Like it was just crazy. It just kept going and going and going, and the church covers it up, blah blah blah. But what's really shocking is that people, these kids who were getting touched, and they would report it, they would still go to church. They would still, like, the same minister would be up there, like giving them communion every week. They were still going. You know what I mean? And I think that there's just, I'm guess what I'm saying is whether it's flat Earth or whether it's something horrible happening in your religion, you still maintain the religion. Like most people still keep the habit, still keep the routine because they can't give it up. It's part of who they are. You know, Even if they do have the horrible confrontation, you still can't, you still take the communion. You
Yeah.
know, so
I
maybe it's the same shit.
I think so. I think you could even term it in terms of like a shit marriage. You get up, you
Mm.
tolerate each other. Oh, we should end this, but we have kids. We should end this, but the finance. And the vast majority of people stay. So I see it in the same realm. It's just like, it's fucked, but it's too much work and too hard, too deep on the realization and psychological level. Say, fuck it, just roll with it.
You'd think that
Yeah,
there'd be people to break
well,
though. Like seeing the sun going all around South Pole, like you'd think that would break most people.
You think a crazy bitch yelling at you every day and calling you all types of shit would make you be like, okay, this isn't normal, but you
You're
stay. But you
you're
stay.
right.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure. I think religion is in many cases the collective delusion, and we interact with people every day that go to these more extreme examples of churches where there's extreme literalism, and they believe in that kind of thing already. So these people have we've been walking past these people our entire lives. They believe there's a firmament. They believe that the planets or whatever lights in the sky, but they're not planets. And any host of an extremely unlikely and incredible things. It's just the weakness of the human mind, or how people would rather imbibe fictions than deal with the real world. And we talked about this before. And it's not that the fictions being having fictions in your mind or entertaining fictions is a bad thing. It's just confusing fictions for the real world is when the problem arises, and that's when you get extremism and people doing very silly things for very silly ideas. And it's a human problem, and it's a perennial problem. I think it goes back to the beginning of time, and I'm just hoping it gets weeded out. But
You,
even
you,
with modernity, you just get new iterations. You get UFO cults. You get just different variations of these kind of this tendency to lose oneself in illusion and illusions that make one feel powerful and make one feel special. And I think that's really the key point here. Is people want to believe something and make them exceptional without really having to be exceptional. You just
wait,
have, yeah.
you're talking toward like the will of some type of control or power. What about the will toward comfort? Do you categorize people that stay in a horrible relationship or live in an environment that pretty much makes them a worse person and don't make changes? Do you consider them in the same category, or is this a different realm? Because I feel like there's an aspect to all of us that we just neglect, don't change. Like you were speaking there on this, oh, I hope we weed this out. I'm like, man, I think we all got a little bit of that in us.
Yeah, we definitely do. I think that's an interesting idea. Is there a distinction? I That's hard to say. I'd say there probably is. I mean, I think you're correct that the comfort itself is an immense pull to maybe holding in certain beliefs or being allowing oneself to be stuck in certain patterns like that.
You know, it's interesting. I think that there are moments where those patterns can be changed by some kind of sudden realization, like, the scales falling from my eyes sort of situation, like the South Pole situation. But I do think that other people change slowly, you know. I'm kind of thinking of Mom Chase. I was talking to Mom the other day because I was compelled to read the Book of Mark a few weeks ago. I was interested in it because it's like the original gospel, and I was curious like how it's different from the other ones and stuff. And anyways, to please Mom, who's always been a good Christian woman, I sent her a couple verses. Like, what do you think of this verse? What do you think of this verse? Austin, this woman used to get up every morning and read her Bible, which she was always pushing us into church, like Bible studies, giving us Bibles for Christmas and shit like that. And I found out she just don't really go to church anymore. She stopped going. She stopped reading her Bible every day. She's like, yeah, I listen to podcasts sometimes, doesn't read religious books anymore or anything like that. And I was like, what happened? And she was just like, no, 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 I need to get back into it. I just, I don't know. I just got busy, I guess. And this is somebody who was absolutely religious to her core. And over time, it just kind of became less and less significant, you know? And I think that that happens a lot. Like I'd be curious with those flat earther guys, how are they doing 6 months later? Have they dug in even harder? Or have some of them slowly began to walk away? I'm curious about those kind of changes that can
Well,
happen to people.
yeah, but what's bigger? Are more people coming to that theory or are more people walking away from it? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't know which is. I would imagine more people are coming into it since
Oh,
it
I'd say the
continue.
opposite.
But it
I
seems like
think
it's
flat
bigger. It seems like I hear about it casually more than I never
on
used to.
the internet. On the internet. How many flat earthers do you really know?
I've met two.
Oh, really? Shit.
Yeah.
Man. Proud
I
about it?
think my brother Chris knows one.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say he is one. Oh, I was like, oh shit, Chris, come on. Get on the podcast.
I think they're growing. Why wouldn't you think they would be growing if it's the argument's still out there? So I don't know.
No, I think they are growing. But
Hmm.
Chase, you made a very good point. I think a lot of it is financially motivated. I think that's a huge part of it. I think the people that went there themselves that continued were financially motivated. I mean, you can ignore reality up to a point, but it's hard in situations like that. I would be surprised if anyone could maintain the illusion that far. But maybe perhaps there are people like that. But
What you could think this could be an opportunity. So remember that ex preacher guy, that client I talked about a while back? He's like, I
Mm,
took acting, I was a failed actor, I went to
mm,
seminary, and then I was like,
mm.
fuck it, I'll just sell self-help shit and be super spiritual. And I was like, so it's all an act. He's like, yeah, it's a business. It's how I make my money. I'm like, oh, interesting. That's what he chooses to do. He was okay with it. So I imagine maybe there's personalities like, hey, I can make a buck in this field if I bullshit and say what I got to say. So yeah,
I think that's how people are. Like ultimately it's survival, right? And if it's your one means of survival,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
do it. You know? I got a buddy who Fernando, he sells his dirty undies online. He gets 700 a month
Can
from
you can
selling
he send
dirty
me the
undies.
website? I would love to sell dirty undies. I got no
I think
problem with that,
I
man.
think it's like OnlyFans, man. He like literally just takes a picture of himself in the
Austin,
undies, shows
Austin,
him like pulling it out of his ass crack, and guys are like, "Oh my God, send it to me."
Austin.
Uh,
If some guy offered you, let's say, $200, how much is he getting paid for these undies?
oh, hundreds. Like
See,
I
okay,
think he
let's
gets like
say
close to 1,000 a month.
so let's say $200. Austin, would you kind of take off undies in a sexy way, rub it in your butt, and then mail it off to somebody for cash? Would you?
no,
You don't have to show your face, man. Nobody would know it was you.
I'm not inclined. I'm not inclined.
You wouldn't. I would do that in a heartbeat. How much you want to pay me for my shit, man? Let's do
Then
it.
why aren't you, Chase? Come on, that's easy money. You should be
I
doing it
said,
now.
send me the link. How do I sign up?
It's on a website called OnlyFans. There you go.
I got to see how he markets. What does he do? Just here's my legs. Here's me in my
Uh,
underwear. What do you
bet it.
do?
There's like a million NSFW Reddits where like you just find like there's always one that's like dirty underwear, gay dudes, or there's literally every fetish you could ever imagine. You find the one, you post on there, and then you have your links with it, and then guys who need it, they just get on there and
So
ask for them.
can I admit something? That I've
Mm,
never used Reddit. There was two or three times in my life that I did. And once I saw this like mini doc, it was a straight guy and he was selling
mm,
his feet pics to gay men. He's
mm.
like, I got beautiful feet. I do. Been told this many times by girls. So
George Costanza. Yeah.
I put some pictures on a Reddit.
What? Did you?
Gay, yeah, just the feet, obviously. I mean, they blew up, man. I mean, I had guys asking me, it's like, can you send me all these and I'll pay you money? I did it once or twice and I was like, oh, this is a scam. But there was 20, 30 people texting me like, hey, can you send me this? I was like, this is too much work, man. But maybe I'll reconsider it. Maybe.
You've never told me this story. I
Well,
can't
it
believe.
didn't go anywhere. I had like the
Wow.
one or two I pursued. I was like, oh, this is a scam. But there were a lot coming in. I was like, I can't imagine they'd all be fake. Yeah.
I will not name any names, but didn't you have a friend who jerked off on camera for money? Um,
Way back early in the
yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
How much did he get?
They flew him out to San Diego and gave him a
They
couple grand.
flew him out?
Yeah,
What? Oh,
yeah,
it was like a porn. Wow, holy shit, you know?
yeah.
This is untapped money, gentlemen. Untapped money. Just saying. All of our problems could be solved.
This is below
Just
Austin's standards, though. All this. He would
yeah,
never
Austin's kind of
engage.
high and mighty, actually, now that I think about it, you know.
Dean, would you sell your feet pics if somebody wanted to pay you for them?
Oh my God, dude, the idea of being free of like normal job.
Yeah.
Oh my God. For pics? Pics? Come on, dude. Come on. Like I think it takes my issue is in the moral side. My issue is like the courage side. I think I'm afraid I would post and everybody would be like, ugh, gross. You know, that's more my issue. I'd be too shy, too humiliated. What if they don't like me? What if they don't like my cock? You know, like
What if it was just feet though, or underwear?
my feet are hairy, man. But you know what? There's probably a lot of guys who are into that, like hobbit feet. You know,
Stop. There's got to be.
yeah,
You got to
they're
stop this.
probably into that shit,
If
man.
you start
Yeah.
making money off Hobbit feet, I don't know. I guess I'll kind of be proud of you. It's like, what did your
You
brother
know
do?
what?
He was a
That could be
teacher.
a good shit, man. That could be good. Yeah.
Hobbit
Mhm.
foot fetish, man. It's already exists. I'm sure it
Have
does.
you heard about the tow
What?
bar in
Wait,
Canada? Do
no,
you know about the tow bar?
no.
There's a bar in Canada, like out in the Yukon, like it's out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this famous drink called the tow. And what it is a miner back in the 19th century cut off his toe and he pickled it. And then they have the toe at the bar, and you have to take a shot with the toe in the glass, you
No,
know? And you
no,
have to kiss the toe
no.
before
That's just fucking awful.
it's legend, man.
You know
People go
what?
there for the toe,
Canada just
man.
needs to be the 51st state. They can't be independent doing that shit. I'm convinced. Fucking
They did a
lunatic.
survey. 17% of Canadians say they're down.
Well,
17.
I don't want to forget this. So, Austin, me and Dean would totally do feeder, rubbing, underwear in our butt because if we could break free of the work world and do some weird shit like that without anybody knowing, we would totally do it. You wouldn't follow that logic, or it truly is below you?
Well, I'd just say, I'd much prefer to make money another way, a more honest way, a way that's not so
What's not
sullied
honest
by
about it?
Yeah, that's the
What's
most
not honest?
honest there is. Yeah.
that's you're engaging with vices, seems like a vice.
Why is it a vice?
Paying some dude for dirty underwear, that dude's got problems, as far as I'm concerned.
He just wants to jerk off, man. Like that's what's going on,
Well, I
man.
think this is the perception of it. He sees him as problem. Dean sees him as jerking off. For me, it's like, hey, he's working through his sexual stages, and I'm
I'm
going along
helping.
with him. Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
helping the journey. You
Maybe
know,
we're
the other
hindering, maybe we're helping, but it's how it's playing out. Whatever.
man,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
fine. I think it's fine. But of course, if people feel differently about it, some people might be like a kind of a privacy or kind of issue.
Okay, so if you were fucking on camera, let's say you got a wife, you're a swinger, you're showing your face and then you're trying to
Yeah.
raise a family. Like, I think that's kind of fucked up. I'm like, it's not going to end well, dude. Like, even if you retire in a year, people are going to find your videos, your kids will find, like, if you're exposing everything, I think it probably, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think you're going to have a lot of fucking issues in the long run. But if nobody ever knows it's you, like a foot or dirty underwear, yeah, maybe you get away with it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I've often wondered about because that situation has to happen a lot, you know. I would be wondering, like, let's say like my mom was like a smoking hot fans only model, you know, and like she had a crazy nice life, like fancy house, all that stuff. And she was like a dedicated mom and all that, but she posted dirty pics. You know what I mean? I think I'd have a little pride in her. I'd be like, man, she
I got
fucking made something of herself, man.
I
You
got
know?
one story of this, one story in therapy. This chick was a very attractive woman in the 80s, and she did a
Mhm.
couple of porn scenes, not big, but just so she made some money. Very good life. Her teenage son found them. He was
Yeah.
15. He went to live with the dad. He was just like, I can't.
But you know what? I feel like teenagers are always going to use some kind of excuse. You
Well,
know,
it was his friends watching it, telling him about it. He just couldn't handle it. He couldn't. It broke him.
there
Yeah.
was an interesting moment from The Sopranos the other day. So sorry, this came to me because somebody was talking about this, but there's a moment where Meadow, Tony's daughter, is dating a black guy at university,
Was he? He
and
looked kind of white to me. It was
yeah, you know what I'm
very,
talking about, that
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
And if Tony meets him and he's immediately like, hey, listen, Jigaboo, you're not dating my daughter, that sort of shit, and he gets all pissed off and it's a whole thing and Meadow loses her mind and all that. Well, anyways, cut to later. Turns out the guy is an asshole. Like he really is just a jerk and they're not going to work because he's just a fucking asshole. But later on, the mom is like, hey, what happened to your boyfriend and all that? And she says, Dad, it's fucking daddy's fault. He fucking did this to me. Even though the truth was, she broke up with him because he was an asshole. She couldn't let Tony have that victory. You know what I mean? She had to hold that over him. And I think that that's very indicative of teenagers. You know what I mean? Like they want any excuse that's going to justify their life, their actions.
Could
And
be.
I think that happens more than we realize.
It could. It look. It could be a good thing. You could see him like, yeah, my mom was a fucking porn star, and I'm proud of it. It could go a lot of directions. I guess there
Man, this is
is.
leverage I can use over mom, you know?
But
This is leverage, you
there's
know?
the chance. I mean, I think about it. If I found out my mom was a porn star, I don't know if I would like that too much. I don't think I could sway that in the positive. It would bother me.
There have been legendary courtesans throughout history, Chase.
Hmm,
Powerful women who controlled empires with vaginas.
it's
This
true.
is an honorable, but the first profession in all of world history was prostitution. First thing, temple prostitutes, man. You go to the temple and you fuck and you leave a donation, man. That's where civilization began, you know? So I just think, Austin, you need to get off of your soapbox, get out of your pulpit, and accept that pussy and dick is something to be embraced and something
Feet.
to be not a vice, but a virtue.
I'm curious about Hobbit feet. I want to know if that's a thing. And if it is, you've found your
R slash
retirement
Hobbit,
plan, man. Yeah.
r/Hobbit feet. Gonna see if I can find that
Okay.
ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah. You find r/fake beards and see how far that can take you, man.
Oh. Hey, I should be remiss. Is there anything going on in the world that we need to discuss? Is there anything pertinent to the masses as of right now? Anything?
This might be too nerdy, but they found a symmetrical structure on Mars.
What is that? What is symmetrical? Like a square?
Yeah, it was a square.
Is this some guy saying, "Hey, here's a square," and then they're going to debunk it tomorrow? That's usually what happens, right?
Yeah, well, it's not debunked as far as I know. It's there's been different opinions that it's a artifact of the picture taking process, or it's a pure accident. Like, but the idea is that these symmetric patterns do not occur in nature, or they occur so rarely as to make other hypotheses reasonable. Have you guys not gone down the rabbit hole of looking at about hidden structures or ancient structures on the moon during the Apollo missions? They came out in the rolls. Or the same with Mars. There was a very famous face and pyramid on Mars. Have you guys not
I
looked
remember
into
the
any of that?
face. The face was, yeah, like, wasn't that debunked? I mean, I don't really remember, but am I wrong about that?
They
Well,
they they showed another picture and they're like, yeah, there is no face. It was just that time of year. And
Yeah, it was just an angle or whatever.
I don't believe anything they say. But look, Austin, I have gone deep into that shit so far to the point that we are all Martians. We came from Mars and there's a nuclear blast and we had to come to Earth. So that's our home planet. Like I have heard all the fucking theories and the moon ones too, hollow moon and all that shit. It's,
there was a video that claimed to be reported to be like lost footage from the Apollo missions. It was a number of astronauts walking through an enormous glass structure. And this was probably about 10 years ago. And since I watched that, that video has disappeared completely from the internet, which isn't to say it was real, but merely to say that it was fascinating and it disappeared. And that itself kind of lends an air of mystery to it. But if you go online and look in, just type in symmetrical structures on the moon, artificial structures on the moon, there's examples of it from the Apollo missions. There's examples of it. I think people taking pictures from Earth. It's very intriguing. You don't really know. You know, these things look like intelligently made structures, but what's really fascinating is like a lot of the time you go to these. It's not Google Earth. It's Google Earth for the moon, and there'll be large sections that have been blurred out. It's like, why would you do that? Like, what is happening on the moon that you would blur it out? I mean, you could speculate a lot of different ways. Ancient aliens, they want to hide our past from us, or perhaps we have advanced technology and we do have bases on the moon, but they're modern bases, and we just don't want to admit it because we don't want to talk about the secret technology that helped us get there. And this is my kind of my personal theory about the Apollo landings and the moon landings. There's a lot of debate whether or not the landings were faked, especially the first one. And it was always my idea that they made they did it using secret technology. And this is something they didn't want to tell. So they had to fake a lot of things to make it look like they were doing it in a manner that was fitting for the technology at the time. But what they were actually doing is they were using much more advanced spacecraft. And they said the likelihood of that succeeding was, I mean, minuscule. I mean, it was radically minuscule. I mean, they should have died before they even reached the moon. On the moon, they should have been trapped on the moon. Like there were so many places where they could have died. And why would you take that risk? It was known. The
So you
original
believe
space
this stuff?
crew. Well, I think it's a fascinating and very like a possible hypothesis. And do you know about the original crew, the original Apollo crew that was supposed to go to the moon instead of Armstrong and these guys? Did you hear about what happened to them?
No.
no.
Well, they were speaking out. They were like, "Look, this program is a farce. Like this thing ain't going to the moon. It's not leaving Earth." And all of them died in a very mysterious fire on Earth during the testing of one of the capsules. It was a capsule full of pure oxygen, I believe, and it caught fire. And there's audio recordings on YouTube and other places where you can hear these people burning to death uh, during this test.
What?
And people were saying that before this happened, that all of a sudden the CIA showed up. So this dude would he went to the press and he hung a lemon on the lander and said this thing's not going anywhere. And then they said the next few days all these people in suits showed up. They're looking over everything, and then this crew died. And so I mean it's very suspicious. And then this is a problem when you don't really know, but you have a spatter, if you will, of different information points. I don't really know, but it's always suggestive, and it is up to interpretation. But I think it's a very fascinating thought experiment.
Well, I want to say this because I think this is actually a good contrast across the spectrum, the three of us. Austin dives in. There's spatula evidence here and there. This is a possibility. In fact, it might be likely. I want to believe, and then in like the back of my head, I'm like, it's too much bullshit here for me to believe. And then Dean's just like, no, just no, I don't even think this is even think it's all nonsense. Is that pretty accurate?
For me,
I don't know. I
yeah.
didn't see Dean's face. How do you feel about it, Dean?
Oh, Oh, you can't see my face. Oh, I was giving you lots of looks. Yeah. There's I remember when I was in college, I took astronomy. I had to take some science, and they made us get up at 4 or 3 a.m. God, I remember this. We had to drive way the fuck out in West Texas to the observatory. And it's pitch black outside. You can see all the stars clearly. And I remember going to that observatory, and they had us literally map the entire moon. It was really annoying. But with that, through that observatory, man, you could see unbelievable detail all over the moon. Everything. And every single crater was marked, all the coordinates completely there. You could even zoom in. Astronauts put these mirrors on the moon back in the 1960s and stuff, and you can bounce lasers off of them. And we literally bounced lasers off of these mirrors that are on the moon. And you could literally zoom in and see the like landing site and all that sort of stuff. And so, like, I hear that shit, Austin. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, I just don't buy it. Also, as somebody who like studies history and stuff like that, the conspiracies that are true are pretty blatantly true. You know, like for example, the Gulf of Tonkin, which starts the Vietnam War. Definitely, we have so much evidence confirming that. You know what I mean? Or the U.S. Coup in Guatemala, right? Or the coup in uh, Iran, right? These are all things covered up by the government, and they're blatantly confirmed by masses of evidence. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really have faith in the ability of many governments to cover up vast conspiracies. I think governments are pretty stupid, actually. And the secrets get exposed pretty quickly. The wackier they are and the less evidence there is, the more I tend to be like, but I get the fun of it, like Chase digs Bigfoot, I don't dig Bigfoot at all, but it's fun to listen to people who believe in it, and, have their crazy drunken experiences that they share on their crazy radio podcasts, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating exercise in interpretation because ultimately I believe that the evidence that we have, for example, the original tapes of the moon landing were lost. What we do have is tapes that were taped within the command center that they were shooting videos of videos that were being projected on the wall. So what we do have is secondhand. Those tapes were lost. People, it was said that they were written over, perhaps, for cost purposes, which is to say that the greatest achievement of humankind, that perhaps it's still the greatest achievement, was just written over, like an old VHS tape that got you wrote pornography over Homeward Bound. It's like, who would do that? My feeling is, the fun for me is it's an exercise and interpretation of, you have these facts, and then you ask yourself why, and then you look at the context and you say, given the context, what is the most likely explanation? But because we don't have access to the totality, we are left guessing. But I will say this: that those lasers on the moon are brought up quite often. But my theory of advanced technology covers that quite nicely. Because I'm not saying we didn't go to the moon. I'm not saying there wasn't a massive orchestrated work happening that put the landers and the rockets together. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying there was a parallel program in which it was not allowed to fail. I'm not, again, I'm not saying that's absolutely the case, but that's my own kind of pet theory, if you will. That's kind of like a median ground between the people that have full denial and the people that say it was absolutely exactly how the government said it was. So that's my kind of middle ground interpretation of the evidence, of which it is not, admittedly, not complete evidence because a lot of things were lost, of course.
Well,
Cool, cool.
I like hearing both y'all's explanations. They're quite good. But I get Austin, I want to believe. There's something in me that says this whole thing called life is just we're so far off on how we perceive it and what's going on. So I think something unbelievably significant is hidden. I don't know what, I don't know how far it goes. I know we don't get told shit. So I want to believe. But then, of course, all the years in school, like Dean said, it's just there's rarely enough evidence for me to be like, yeah, it's 100% bullshit or it's 100% true. It's just it's like it's scattered. And when everything's scattered, just bits and pieces, I can never in my head say 100%. Like I want to believe, I lean that way, but I just can't. I can't fully buy in. I'd have to see something. I'd have to witness something spectacular for me to make me believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's fair.
I do want to, just for the sake of a clip, I do want to mention Trump. Yeah. Uh, because Chase, you said that got some hits on TikTok, right? The Trump shit.
Everybody loves Trump, you know that.
Man, I have to talk about something it's something that I've never seen in the news before. And it's all stemming from this Ukraine thing, yeah, where Trump is basically saying like, all right, Ukraine, we're in this war. You've lost the territory. You don't get into NATO. You know, that's it. It's over. You know, and Russia's sounds pretty happy about it. You know, and it's still in the midst of this happening. But Trump has added a rider saying, all right, Ukraine, we're going to give you peace. And Russia, you're going to get the territory, but we get access to these rare earth minerals.
Mm.
We get access to all of it in Ukraine, you know? And everyone's like freaking out about this. Like, why? How dare you abandon Ukraine? And what are these rare earth materials? And Putin is just a shield, blah, 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 blah. But the narrative that people have been talking about is this: Trump is the first guy in a long time who's actually just kind of vomiting out the reality of war. You know, like you remember with Iraq, you know, we're going there to bring democracy to these people to make sure the young Muslim girls can go to school. You know, no, we're there for fucking oil. That's why we're there. And now Trump is just saying, like, yeah, we're going to give you peace for a fucking price. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the price is, and the public's going to know what the price is. It's the rare earth minerals, you know? And there's this question that everybody's saying, what's better? I heard Democrats saying, fuck, maybe it is better just to be honest. Maybe it is better not to be hiding back behind all this. But I've heard the other side saying, you are violating the rules of international politics. You can't say the quiet part out loud. You can't say it out loud because that undermines the entire perception of civility between nations. And I genuinely wonder. I wonder, is it better just to say, yeah, we're taking this or we're going to nuke you? Or is it better to have the civil decorum? You know, is it better to always have the bullshit face for the sake of keeping things civil? I don't know, man. It's an interesting debate, and I've heard interesting points on both sides, but we're in a different fucking field of politics now, thanks to Donald.
Dean. My feeling is maybe that was lying was the appropriate way to act for a long time, but my feeling is maybe it would be the right way going forward. But you cannot lie anymore. There's too much independent media. There's too many people telling the truth,
Mm.
and there's a lot of people within the Trump organization that are not going to allow that to happen. Maybe they're going to lie for their own purposes, but when it suits them, they're going to tell the truth, the hard truth about the intelligence agencies, and that's not been done for a very long time, if ever, from places of high political authority within the U.S. So I feel like maybe it's irrelevant whether that's the right or wrong thing to do. It's not going to happen anymore, at least for a long time.
Dean,
But you know what, man? Same
Dean,
thing with the flat earth thing. People are still going to believe shit in this age of independent media.
but
You
Dean,
know, people are
that,
still going to have conspiracies.
what do you think Trump's approval rating is in America right now?
I think it was high. I think it was 52, 53,
It's
something
almost
like that.
55%, which is
Yeah.
unheard of from a guy that was in low 30s almost his entire presidency. Like
We're at the beginning.
it's
Yeah.
working. His transparency, even the lunatics on the left are like, actually, that's kind of a good thing. Actually, this is kind of nice to know. So to me, I don't know if it's sustainable. Ideally, you can't lie, like Austin said, as much because the independent media, but this is so refreshing. Everybody's getting on board. It's fucking fascinating.
I don't know if everybody's getting on board, but I'll say this.
More and more
Democrats,
people are getting on board.
I have never seen a party so neutered, man. They got nothing. They're like wheeling out Chuck Schumer, who's like, "Oh, we disapprove of what's happening out here, you know." And Hakeem Jeffries just seems like a little bitch. Like, Bernie's too old. He's almost 90. You know, like, dude, I he's got no opposition. He has no one, no one willing to stand in his way, man. Every single person he put up there, like, there's no way these people are gonna get approved. They're all approved, man. RFK, Gabbard, all of them. You know, I've never seen such power consolidated in the American system in my lifetime. You know, this is This is some big dick swinging. You
I
know,
I th
he's got the power.
I think they've lost their mind because to me, correct me if I'm wrong, this is classically democratic. Is hey, let's go in there and be authentic and let you know where everything's going on and where the
Mm,
money's going to be. I'm like, if you asked me that as a kid, I'm like, yeah, that's the D. That's the Democrats. So they don't, they're fighting it now. They're fighting it and saying, oh, a billionaire is going to do this and this. Okay, maybe a little bit, but I like what's happening. And I'm
yeah.
not too sure who you people are anymore. I have no idea what you stand
E-
for.
There's an internal civil war in the Democrats right now. Like, first of all, there's all the DEI shit, but the big thing is, what do we do about our relationship with the working class, right? Because the working class has abandoned the Democrats, right? They went over to Trump land, you know? And so there's this question of, all right, do we do the Bernie thing where we say, fuck the billionaires? We're, we're about the working man. We're not going to work with them anymore. Or do we maintain the Clinton legacy of be more centrist and we do take the billionaire money and we have more of a business minded mindset, you know? And they don't know what to fucking do because they just elected a new leader of the DNC, and this guy has a famous quote where he was asked pointedly, like, "Hey, are you going to take funds from billionaires?" And he said, "Well, no, of course, we're only going to take money from good billionaires. You know, the ones that are going to support the Democratic Party." He got eviscerated for this online. Good fucking billionaires, you know, like the party does not know what to fucking do with itself. They can't say no to the money, but they can't maintain their constituents, you know? And it's just a collapse, a disintegration. I've never seen anything like it. And I kind of hope that it's going to be so powerful that something new is going to come along.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe a new party
yeah.
or a new identity. And that would be exciting, man. I'd love to see something like that happen in my lifetime.
Austin, anything, brother?
Yeah, that would be exciting. Dean, you know the history much better than I do, man, but I just feel like the way things have been moving, yeah, the politicians take care of their donors and they lie to us, and they tell them the truth. So all I want is if someone says, "Hey, I'm for the middle class," I want them to act that way. Like, I don't want words, I don't want speeches, I don't want rhetoric. I want money in my pocket. I want my buying power to go up. I want inflation to go down. I want to have to work less. I want better health care. You know, I want a new car. I mean, heck, man, give me anything, dude. Don't give me any pretty words. Don't give me a nice little speech. Give me
I want to
some
see
real
action.
concrete things. Yeah, give me some real stuff. Like I'm tired of concepts, dude. I'm tired of rhetoric. I'm tired of it, man. Like everyone's tired of it, dude. Just give me something real. Give me something I can hold in my hand for once, you psychopathic, reptilian, child molesting, democratic bastards. You know,
Yeah,
give
man.
give it give it to me.
Do you know it's funny though because I think that what's going to happen because Trump, I mean, they really are changing up the federal government. There was a Elon Musk just did a thing the other day where he was like, "Hey, all temporary or probation employees, you gone." They got the buyback plan where they're buying back people who are close to retirement and stuff like that. And it's almost certain now the Department of Education is going to be completely eliminated. You know, this all means more power is coming back to the state. And what that means to me is the rise of localized politics again in the United States, which means mayors, governors, the people who are running the day to day activities in each state, they're going to be more responsible, which means they're going to be more in communication with their constituents. Their responsibility is going to be more in tune with what you want also, theoretically. Theoretically, you know what I mean? And hopefully that will lead to the rise of more regional politics where your specific needs are being addressed. Or it could mean total corruption and machine politics from the top to the bottom. We'll see what happens, you know?
I'd be surprised if it got any more corrupt, but we'll see.
Austin was talking very selfishly. He was like, just please take care of me, make life not so
You
fucking
say
brutal.
selfishly, I say
Hang on.
patriotically.
Listen,
Yeah.
but the I have heard that voice way too much now, and I think that stupid Democrat Party, this is the misplaced empathy. Let's care about everybody else and save everybody except ourselves. Let's never talk about us. Let's completely neglect ourselves to the point that we're just dying. And I'm like, it's just an insane tactic. You throw out the window self-preservation, and that's how people feel. The normal fucking American's been here his whole life or her life. It's just like, yeah, I got nothing and nobody's helping me. But let's let all these people into the country and give free aid to the rest of the world. It's insane. So what
Yeah.
he's saying, it's like, dude, that's it. Everybody out there in America, I don't give a fuck what's next to your name. Help me the fuck out. Help me get a mortgage. Help me get out of debt, and I will fucking vote for you every time. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And no one can do that. You know, if there was one candidate who could lower the price of fucking eggs, that could be the president of the United States. The president of the United States, man. Like it really is that simple. I really do believe that. And I don't know, it makes me feel like America's impotent. Excuse me, not impotent. We got Donald
No,
Trump.
I got hope with Trump, man. You don't want to, we're going to take all the rare earth minerals. Like, yeah, good. Thank you for telling us that. And I hope we do, because you're going to do it anyway. Thank you for being upfront. Fantastic.
Why? I think the Democrats manipulate people with words of compassion. Say the minorities, the gays, the trans, the poor, the uneducated, the downtrodden. They say that those are the people they're helping, and they bring people in who are empathetic people, who are good people who genuinely would like to help and vote Democrat to help. But they don't understand that they're donating to a business class that only has business interests and billionaire interests. And the politicians are just bloodsuckers, you know. They got Nancy Pelosi, hundreds of millions of dollars, insider trading. But those are peanuts compared to the billionaires. But they're just bloodsuckers, and they're a parasite class that do nothing but lie and take every penny that they possibly can. And all the while they're smiling in your face, and they're saying that what they're doing is going to help minorities and the poor and so forth. They've done nothing to help me or the people that I know. So I'm kind of really confused where all these funds are going. Are missiles in Ukraine? I mean, they're definitely doing that. I mean, I guess maybe that's where the money's going. But I'm really confused about where all these nice words about the downtrodden and the poor are going when you're on the ground floor. Yeah, I don't see a penny. So
Hold on,
it's all
Austin.
very, very confusing.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. What have
What?
you done for America, Austin?
Hang
I'll
on.
tell you, dude. I'll tell you. I pay my taxes, dog. I pay my taxes.
That's all you need to do. Now, look, so a lot of people would say, well, what about the Republicans? They're fucking evil. Look, we got Trump right now. But Dean, Austin, you nailed it. The one thing you can't take and manipulate is compassion. Whatever you believe, if you're manipulating compassion, I feel like you're bound for destruction. Like atheist or Christian, like you just don't do that. You can't do that. That is the most fucked up thing you can do. Let me help you out and then fucking fuck you in the long run. I mean, that's what they're doing. And it's just maybe you summed it up right there because they have manipulated compassion for over a decade. And now they're on the verge of destruction. Like there is no party left. There is no leader. There's nothing holding that together. Like that is eroded away. And I was like, hey, you can't manipulate people with compassion. It's just the most fucked up thing you can possibly do in this world.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
Mm.
God bless America, guys. I feel it. I feel it. I like it.
We're either
All right.
going up real fast or going down really quick.
That's how we like it.
Better than stagnant, baby. Better than
On the
stagnant.
fire.
That's it.
All right. Shall we end it there, guys? Yeah. Hour and
Sure.
8 minutes. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for listening to the Divine Brothers. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.